Welcome back to Notes on Being Human. I am Sneha, just a human, learning, healing, and sharing what I understand along the way. Have you ever noticed something strange about the times we live in? We have never been this connected. Within seconds, we can text someone on the other side of the world, video call our families, or share our lives with hundreds of people online. We have instant access to everything. And yet, so many of us still carry this quiet, heavy feeling that something is missing. We feel connected, but we don't always feel seen. One of the most fascinating things about being human is the gap between our world and our biology. Our world has changed drastically, but our brains, they haven't changed nearly as much. Thousands of years ago, belonging wasn't a lifestyle choice, it was survival. If your tribe rejected you, your chances of staying alive plummeted. Being accepted means safety, being seen meant protection. Today, we don't live in forests anymore. We live in modern cities staring at screens. But somewhere deep inside our nervous system, our brains are still craving that primal connection. We are still longing for someone to look at us and quietly say, I see you, you're okay, and you're not alone. I don't think that's a weakness. I think it's one of the most beautiful human things about us. As we evolved, we also became more individualistic, not in a selfish way, but in a psychological way. Each of us now carries two distinct worlds, our inner world and our social world. Ideally, these two worlds dance in harmony. But when they don't, when the inner world gets stormy, we naturally reach outward for something to ground us. Some of us find that comfort through friends, some through family, faith, or a mentor, and well, some of us are just now learning how to become that safe place for ourselves. As we slowly begin healing, understanding our past, and accepting the messy parts of who we are, there always comes a point where we look for validation, a voice that gently reminds us, hey, you're on the right path. Now, hear me on this. That seeking is not a flaw, it is a fundamental part of healing. Now, think about a child just learning to walk. The first step is rarely taken in silence. The people around the child clap, they smile, and they cheer. But when the child falls, because they will, we don't shout, we don't criticize them or tell them they're a failure. We gently help them to stand back up and we cheer for their next attempt. Why? Because we somewhere intuitively understand that this is how confidence grows. Now imagine if every time that child fell, everyone stood around and said, wow, you are terrible at this. Look at everyone else walking perfectly. Maybe walking just isn't for you. We would call that cruel, brutal even. Yet, how many of us speak to ourselves exactly like that? In the last episode, we spoke about the inner critic. Today, I want to talk about what happens when that critical voice becomes louder than every encouraging voice around us. That is exactly the moment where validation begins to matter most. Let me share something personal with you. I have been preparing for one exam for the last 6 years, 5 attempts. And let me tell you, there were entire sessions where I didn't have a crowd cheering loudly from the sidelines. In fact, there were far more voices asking me to quit, voices questioning my own choices, making me question my own worth. There were dark days where I wondered, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not just, capable. But every single time I fell, I realized I had a choice. I could either let those outside voices become my identity, or I could quietly get up, dust myself off, and begin again. I haven't reached my destination yet, but something fundamental shifted along the journey. I slowly realized that those critical voices were just opinions. They were never really my identity. Today, my confidence doesn't come from a title or clearing an exam. And maybe that's what resilience quietly looks like. Not never falling, but refusing to let every fall decide who you are. It comes from knowing that no matter how hard you fall, I have the capacity to begin again, again, and again. And I think that's what validation is really meant to do. It is not meant to be a voice we depend on forever. It's meant to be a scaffolding, a temporary support, something that helps us build a voice within ourselves that stays even when the crowd goes home and no one is loudly cheering for us. Validation itself isn't the enemy. Sometimes it's exactly what saves us. A therapist saying, "Your feelings make complete sense." A friend saying, "I believe in you." A mentor saying, "Keep going." These moments can be monumental turning points. Sometimes another person's belief in us acts as the bridge until we can believe in ourselves. But healing eventually asks a quieter question: what happens next? What happens when every decision requires someone else's rubber stamp? When every choice needs reassurance? When every single step forward depends on hearing, "Yes, you're doing the right thing." Without realizing it, we slowly begin outsourcing our relationship with ourselves. Why do we do this? Because reassurance feels incredible. It instantly reduces uncertainty. Imagine you're facing a difficult decision. Your mind is spinning with anxiety. You pick up the phone, call a friend, and they tell you, "Don't worry, you'll be okay." Boom. And almost instantly, your nervous system settles, your anxiety drops, and your brain notes that shortcut. So the next time the uncertainty hits, what does your brain do? It reaches for that phone again. Not because you're weak, but because you're wired to that to find that safety. That danger arises when reassurance becomes the only way we know how to feel safe. So, how do we find a way back? I don't think the answer is hyper independence. The goal isn't to never ask for help. Human beings were never meant to heal alone. The goal is balance. Here is a small practice that has completely changed things for me. The next time you feel that frantic urge to seek reassurance, just pause. Before you text or call someone, ask yourself, what exactly am I looking for right now? Are you looking for approval, permission, certainty, comfort, or do you simply want someone to tell you that you aren't alone in the dark? Sometimes just assigning words to the feeling changes the entire energy of the moment. Then try this. Before you send that message, write your own answer down first. What do you honestly think you should do? You don't have to be 100% certain. You just have to be honest. And if you are still overwhelmed after that, by all means reach out. Not because you're incapable, but because you're a human being who needs a little support. That difference is subtle but massive. You're seeking for a guidance, not handing over the keys to your life. Time, if you practice this, something beautiful happens. The distance between your anxiety and your ability to reassure yourself becomes shorter. Maybe healing isn't the day you magically stop needing people. Maybe healing is simply the day you realize another person's voice is no longer the only one you trust. Because somewhere along the rugged journey, your own inner voice became a little kinder. It became more patient, more compassionate. It became a place you could finally return to. A voice that gently whispers, "Hey, you handled difficult things before. Take one more step. We'll figure it out." Maybe that's what healing has been trying to teach us all along the way. It is okay to lean on others. It is okay to ask for reassurance. It's completely okay to need a reminder that you're not alone. Just don't forget to become one of the voices that believes in you too. Because the ultimate goal of healing isn't to stop needing people, it is to stop abandoning yourself while you wait for them. Validation may help us begin the journey, but self trust is what keeps us walking. Thank you for spending your time. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me. If this conversation resonated with you, I would love to know, where in your life are you still looking outside for reassurance? Lean into that question without judgment. Just look at it with curiosity. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay curious.